Guys, welcome to another amazing, perfect, life-changing, universe-altering video of Spyro the Dragon. This time we're looking at something you've never seen before. This is my world record in the 120% category compared with the community sum of best. Now, let's just get into it, and I'll go ahead and explain more of it as we go on. So you might be wondering, what is the community sum of best? Well, what that is Flazuki went and curated all of the best individual levels put together with the homeworlds and put them together in a YouTube playlist, which I have linked down in the description, and that's going to be what's on the right. So each segment is going to be done by hopefully a different player. A lot of them are by myself and Saboom. But this first segment is done by Adam the Bandicoot, or Adam the Dragon, pardon me. And you'll see right away he's going for a way weird strat where he gets a void out on the first dragon. This skips the otherwise unskippable cutscene that you see on the left and saves about 16 seconds, which you'll see when he enters the portal. Now, when he goes through this portal, it's going to cut out because I have it synced up at every level. And here you're seeing an explanation on the two metrics I give during these little black screens while we wait for my world record to catch up. And we have the total time save of the run up to that point, which is 15.9 seconds, as well as the actual previous segment split, which is how much time was saved on the last segment before the screen went black. And there's a little happy, can I get a happy Spyro in the chat? Ladies and gentlemen, if you're subbed on YouTube, let me get a Dayo happy in the comments. But yeah, so now I've realigned the two videos, and now they are starting each level side by side, completely synced up to the frame within one frame of leniency, and we're going to see exactly how much time I save, not just in the homeworlds as segments, but in the individual levels as well. They're all going to sync up at the beginning of each level and at the beginning of each homeworld. So you can really see where I'm going to be saving and losing time. And already you can see in the plains right here, for example, Adam is just running away with this Sunny. I mean, like, even like Nestor skip aside, Adam put down a really good Sunny flight here. So even if you get Nestor skip and have a decent Sunny flight, it's going to be hard to beat this community goal. This is a really impressive community goal. And it speaks a lot to my approach with flight levels as well in this game, where I go for like safe. I don't do a lot of dive bombing, and you can see just how much time you save from really diving low and really abusing the momentum of flight levels to kind of get you to go a little faster. You actually give up straight lines, racing lines you would call them, in order to kind of dive bomb like he did at the end there and do a little animation skip on the end. So in addition to that 15.9 we have earlier, we have minus 1.5, which you can see in the bottom left, making our total time gain minus 17.4 for the whole run so far. So hopefully those numbers are making sense there. But yeah, pretty crazy to think that we are basically less than 3 minutes into the run, and already could possibly be about 17, 18 seconds faster. But what I want you guys to watch here, and this is beautiful, I almost shed a tear when I was editing this. Look at the sync here. That was a 0-0 split. Barely, I put it red because the community best was barely ahead. And by the way, the community best is by me here now. So now we're looking at gameplay. These are both gameplays from me, but on different occasions. Pay attention. Think about that when you look at how similar these gameplays look. This looks like the exact same, like right down to the unnecessary flames and movement. This looks like the same run right now. Like, just, it really speaks to how many times I've done this level. That, like, right down to the unnecessary extra movements or little whatever, just like little inconsistencies or whatever it may be. It is literally the exact same set of inputs, like for an entire level. And again, for that to happen on world record, for it to be so close to the community goal, even one I set that I set myself. I mean, the sync, now we're starting to see a little bit of the desync here. My world record almost coming ahead there, but community best catching up. It's still so synced. We're almost frame perfectly synced with the community best here. Like, I just want to clarify, these community bests are curated by Flazuki over the course of years. He's watching Street Flip. By the way, what a legendary, you know, every speedrun community needs a Flazuki. And now you can really see the community best get ahead, by the way, with the quicker hit on the big guy. But, you know, Flazuki takes very close care to make sure that, like, these community bests are as accurate as possible. And he watches a lot of streams. So to think that this was the best, you know, on the right is the best Dark Hollow he's ever seen, compared to just the one that I happened to get on my world record, It was still at the end is because of the big guy. I lost a couple seconds, and I think there was a bonk in there maybe as well. Not sure, but pretty much it was dead even with the community best right up to the end there. So really impressive, impressive sync on the Dark Hollow. Again, those were 2 separate runs. They were so similar, and that's part of why I wanted to make this this comparison. Also, the fact that I'm splitting it up between levels. Has an interesting byproduct, which is that I'm cutting out all of the loads in between levels and balloonists. So that can actually have a little bit of a implication, because even amongst similar platforms, like all of the runs you're seeing here are done on PS2 fast disk speed. But even amongst different PS2s and different discs and different setups, there is that, and just even if it's the same PS2, it'll load the same thing like within like about a couple frames of there's variance to the loads even amongst the same platform. So I found that interesting, and it is definitely something that we're going to talk a little bit more towards the end when we compare the time with loads versus the time without loads, because we are going to look at that metric at the very end of the run. But for now, we are all of this timing, you got to keep in mind it is without level loads, though it's not technically loadless, because that would also remove dragon loads, which is another thing that's affected by playing on an inferior platform, is the amount of time it takes Spyro to load into a level, and the amount of time it takes for the balloonist, which I cut out, and the amount of time it takes for a dragon touch to go from shaking to exploded and him talking. And that's also influenced, these dragon loads are also influenced by where you touch the dragon as well. So there is an element, although there is like a platform difference, there is an element of execution difference there as well, which is, I think, pertinent to why I left them in. Also, it would have just been way too much effort to leave in all of the dragon loads, or to take out all the dragon loads. Like, you gotta think about it, I made like 60 different cuts, you know, throughout this run, about 66 different cuts throughout this run for every homeworld and level. So, you know, to add another 80 cuts for every dragon would have been quite the undertaking. Just this comparison alone took me like 2 weeks to make. So, but yeah, I invite anyone who's interested by just the concept of loadless timing and the difference of your run versus a top level one, especially if you play on emulator or an inferior platform, which is totally okay and speedrun legal. But if you want to compare it, you can cut out some of those dragon loads or level loads like I have here. And that's kind of like a way that you can kind of more closely compare things, if the platform difference is something that bothers you. But again, all of these playthroughs here are going to be on PS2 fast disk speed, all the community best, which, by the way, this one by Saboom, very nice, minus 2.5, and that was just a really nice example of just raw movement, gaining those extra 2.5 seconds. That was a really clean Stonehill by me as well, but still 2.5 seconds behind just on movement compared to Saboom. Saboom is really like, I don't think there's ever been a player like him. I'm not sure if there ever will be a player like him. Yeah, he really ekes out time and movement in this game in ways that I've been able to sort of eclipse, but never quite recreate the amount of movement precision that he has. I mean, the beautiful thing about speedrunning this game is that there's so much invisible time save from the optimization of the core movement. It's not about hitting crazy tricks, it's about just cleanly doing every section and walking that tightrope of playing safe, but also saving time with how tight you cut every corner. And that's basically where that time save in Stonehill came from. As far as I could tell, there might have been like some flubs that I missed while I was talking about all those platform differences. Thanks for the sub, 420 Chef. Hey, and where are my chuggers in the chat, man? This is I love comparison videos like this. They itch my nerdy nerve inside of me, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, here is a different town square route by Saboom. Saboom's basically the only one that does this. It's very reminiscent of what they do in Any Percent, where they jump up to that area on the right there early. However, I've timed it, and it is actually about the same routing-wise as the old route, which is what I do in my world record. And it's more risky to do the newer route. So it's just Saboom is another thing that's kind of makes him unique, is he's known for doing some alternate routes that no one else goes for. He does one in a Dry Canyon as well that's like that. And in fact, you'll notice that some of the biggest time saves in this video that you're going to see, like the time that I lose on world record compared to the community best, is going to come down to a lot of routing choices. Like, for example, Lofty Castle, the fastest route there saves about 5-10 seconds off of the next best, which is what I did in world record. The same thing applies to other areas as well, like Nestor Skip, for example. That was a conscious decision for me not to go for that. But yeah, look at this thing by Saboom. He cleans up this whole area sideways, and then he drops down here, which is very satisfying. Like, it feels right. Like, when you get to this part of the level, it's like, ah, yes, this feels right. I can see why Saboom likes doing it. So he saved 2 seconds on me there. And again, I don't think that's necessarily so much from the route as it is just the raw execution, but we can give a second to the route if you really wanted to. But you'll find, I've found in playing this game, by the way, nice wall glide section right here. Let's see if either one of us get the quick load. Community Best should get the... Yeah, Community Best was a little bit quicker on the load. You can actually have a faster load than that. I would venture so far as to say that the homeworld... Oh, this is another thing I wanted to say, is the homeworld segments are, in general, going to be not as optimal as the individual level segments. And the reason for that is because Flazuki keeps track of the Community Best as one segment, homeworld and level. So if Community Best has like a really good level and like an okay homeworld, then that's generally what ends up happening, rather than the other way around, like a really good homeworld and a bad level that won't get a Community Best, whereas the other way around it will. So in general, you're going to see me even save time on the Community Sum of Best on the actual homeworlds, but that's the reasoning for that. It's not that I'm actually overall faster. It's just that in those tiny little snippets, I'm faster. And when we get to Dreamweavers, there's going to be another wrench even thrown in some of the alternate routing. I had to grab from an alternate Sum of Best playlist just for Dreamweavers homeworld splits. So in general, don't take the homeworld time differences too much to heart. Those are less accurate to what is truly the best ever done by a person as the actual individual level segments. But yeah, so right there, that IL by Saboom, just gorgeous. And it was funny to think, because Saboom, while he does do a different indoors cleanup there, I actually go for an extra doggy quick kill. So it's kind of interesting that, like, I think overall my routing is faster there, but just on this particular run, the execution wasn't as good as the Community Gold. And you'll be seeing, like, little snippets of that throughout this run as well. But, I mean, come on, like, would you have guessed that I lost 2 seconds there if you'd have watched me done that level just by itself? It's like, you wouldn't have, and that's why these Community Sum of Best are so illuminating. It's like, Saboom, you know, he came and he played this game and he went, and, you know, is there going to be another Saboom that might drive these, you know, Community Sum of Best slower, or another player like Saboom that could do that? Like, perhaps. And so in Artisans, we've saved about 26 seconds, which is pretty insane. 26 seconds possible time save, technically speaking, you know, theoretically speaking, in Artisans compared to my world record. And my world record got low 1130s, I remember, in Artisans, which is, for me, that's about 5 seconds off of my best Artisans. So there's like another 20 to 25 seconds of just raw time save. And again, a lot of that is from Nestor skip, those 16 seconds there. But then there's a good 5 to 10 seconds of just raw movement to be saved. And you wouldn't think that just watching my world record. You wouldn't think that, but that's really what I'm going to hone in on. It's not so much the routing. I'll explain the routing differences, but I'm going to try to point out and hone in on the things you're not seeing, which is the movement time save. And you know what? Truth be told, it's hard for me to see it too. Like, even after playing this game for so long, it's hard for me to know whether like a particular whole level's execution was like however many seconds better than another one. You know, if they both hit all the strats they're going for, they both look really good. And that even still applies to a seasoned player like myself. You know, there's, like I said, there's a lot of invisible time save that you get from optimizing this category, optimizing your movement in this game. And I'm sure that applies to pretty much any other speedrun platformer, especially ones with like open-ended level design. Just like the better execution you have, like the more you'll save more time than any like crazy trick ever will save you, just by being like well practiced and really think about every minute like. You gotta remember, like I'm thinking. Oh, I had a little bonk right there, losing me a second or two. You gotta remember, like I'm thinking about I've thought about every input in this run. You know, it's not like anything's like, okay, well, hopefully this section goes well. It's like I'm gonna do everything I can, like to really like hone it down to every input. You know. Every input is thought about, and you can really see that in the Dark Hollow comparison, where it was me against myself. You can see that every input was almost exactly the same. Like that's the level of muscle memory we're talking about. And when I say muscle memory, it's not like, oh, I can just close my eyes and play the game. Like, sure, you can autopilot it, sure, but you're not going to get as good of a run as what you're seeing here. This requires not just the muscle memory and the practice and the experience and the knowledge, but it also requires the active level of focus as well. You need, simply put, you need to wake up, have a good breakfast, eat your Wheaties, maybe even go for a little jog in the morning. Do all those things that activate and invigorate your brain, so that way you can actually play not just at autopilot level, but a step above that, which is what we're watching here. It's a step above that. It's hard to see that difference when you just see a cleanly executed level. You can't see, like, and that's the difference though, is that level of focus and that level of thought to every input. It's quite a like a mentally stimulating thing, speedrunning a game like this, I think. Just for that reason alone, that you have to have such a high focus level to really play your best. And so that's why I can't really grind this game for more than, like, you know, 2 or 3 hours at the most on a given day. Like, sure, I could sit here and physically play it for like 6 to 8 hours, but I'm not going to get like good runs or ones that have that same level of active focus. So it's just, there's no point in continuing beyond, like, when I know I'm fried, you know, even just a little bit, like, then it's time to put it down. Really nice attack, really nice sort of bird situation he did there. And again, Saboom doing an alternate route here that nobody else does this route. It's pretty insane. You can see there's some awkward cleanup with how Saboom has to do this route. But the fact that he did get the community gold with it, I mean, it's really impressive, like, honestly. And it's just, you know, the truth is it's hard to say whether it's the route is better or Saboom is better. Because in all of my my attempts of doing alternate routes, I've not tried the Dry Canyon one yet, disclaimer, but because this one has a really tough jump coming up here. You're going to see it in just a moment. But, you know, these routes are tougher, and it's really hard to justify it just in the time save from the routing. Like, if it's just hard to say whether, like, how much of it is Saboom being good and how much of it is the route. Look at that jump. That jump that he did right there to get into this area it's actually so fucking hard. I mean, it's doable, but it's just so fucking hard. Like, actually insane that he hits that first try on a run, you know? Yeah, he does it like it's nothing. It's actually such an insane jump. And I do some insane jumps too. Like right down here a moment ago, I went for the spin jump. But for me, the spin jump is like 10 times easier than that glide that Saboom did. It's actually insane. But you can see we're not like that far off from each other. Or maybe we are. Hold on. I'm curious to see how much time save is in this split. It might be more juicy than I thought. He finishes the level... Oh, I thought he would have finished it there, I thought. No. He finishes it in here. That's what it is. You should... I don't know why he doesn't go for a triple there, but whatever. Okay, it was about 4 seconds saved. So, like I said, like, is it Saboom just playing well, or is it like the route difference, like, really accounting for some of that? I think it's fair to say maybe something like half and half. Like, maybe that route can save a second or two, and maybe Saboom is really good by a second or two. I think that's like a fair assessment. Have I seen Adam's bird proxy? He doesn't have to go for... Yeah, I've seen that. I don't think it's proven that that is faster or anything, but it is cool. You also can get the spin jump that I do in Dry Canyon without spinning, by the way. That is like the optimal way to do it. You could literally save like 2 seconds just by YOLOing it. There's several different like devil's advocate routes of Dry Canyon. Saboom's being the most interesting, I think. Speaking of alternate routes, there is an alternate Mama Proxy route that you could do here, which I've played with timing for like a day or two, but there's so many different variations on it. You know, one thing with this game, and especially with really open-ended levels like this one, like this level has such an open level design that like it really opens the door for a lot of different types of routing, just depending on how hard you want to go on the actual tricks that you're required to do. So a lot of the routes you see throughout this game are like, they sacrifice like perfect routing for consistency, basically. Or at least, like, you know, some of the tricks that are known and have allowed us to find devil's advocate routes in this game cause the routes to become a lot riskier. For what? Like in Dry Canyon for like 1 or 2 seconds and you're losing like every other run to it? Fucking Nestor skip, you know? It's like... there's a better case for Nestor skip because you're saving 16 seconds, but with a lot of these individual level reroutes, it's a lot harder to make that case because at best it's like a second or two better, you know, at best. You know, and I'm saying like an alternate route here. You're not seeing that right now in the community some of best, but like with Mama Proxy, ideally, like that would be the theoretical best route. With a lot of like playing around and labbing. I think it's definitely one level that needs more work looked into. Its Devil's Advocate route. Myself and Tuval and others have looked at it, but there's more to be looked at. So when you're looking at all these, I call them Devil Advocate routes. You know, they're just I love that jump. By the way, that jump charge that I do in Community Gold right there out of the dragon, it's beautiful. So yeah, just an aside about alternate routing in this game. The way I look at it is the routes I do in my world record are about as risky as I think a human can realistically go for routes in a 120% run. Like just with the individual levels, you know, sure, maybe you can incorporate Nestor Skip. That's fine. That's its own thing. You know, that's another thing. But dude, that was within a, by the way, can I just say the last few levels have been within 5 seconds of the community sum of best. This is like a trend you're going to see over and over. That is like, that's insane to get like even one level, like within a second or two of community sum of best, just in a whole run. And now look, I've done like 3 or 4 of them back to back, just saying. And yes, they're not as literally fast, but they are basically about as fast as the fastest thing that anyone's ever done, you know, according to Flazuki, who watches like everyone play this game all the time, you know, so it's like, holy shit, you know, just to put it in perspective for a moment. I will keep reiterating that, like, if you see me like losing single digits less than 5 seconds, you know, it says -5 or something or less. It's like, that is an insanely good level in my world record to have done that. Like, imagine playing within 5 seconds of your sum of best when you're played on your speedrun. Playing within 5 seconds of it every, like losing only 5 seconds every level, basically. That's kind of what this run was. With the exception of a couple of like things, like Nestor Skip we've seen so far. Anyways, I'm gonna chug this beer, cheers. Damn, Saboom's already in the fucking room there. Oh, I think it's because Saboom doesn't clean up as much stuff. I think it's been proven that this route that I do is a second or two faster. But Saboom does an older version of the route. It's funny because, you know, back in the day when we would do this level, that first half before the Shemp fight, we would just rush through it and then grab all the gems after, go all the way back, finish the level at the beginning, basically. Which is sort of what Saboom is doing here. But then as time went on, it's like we collected more and more stuff in that area until we just realized it's like, you know, Wally realized it was like, dude, it's just faster to just get everything early, you know, routing-wise. Again, I'm speaking routing-wise here, not execution-wise. So here's Saboom cleaning up stuff where ordinarily I'd be done with the level. See what I'm saying? See how much I caught up to him there? Like just a lot of raw movement. So yeah, within a second, like 1 second off the community gold. Last 3-4 levels. Okay, now I want to talk about something. You'll see on Saboom's side of the screen that he is dropping frames on his Twitch VOD, and he did not locally record the run that this segment is from. Now, this is kind of really fucking annoying because you'll see that Saboom's dropping all these frames and you don't really know from the Twitch VOD whether Twitch is like, you know, Twitch is like a little ahead or behind with the segment, or if it's legit. You don't know if it's legitimate or not when it's dropping frames like that because you just don't know how Twitch encoding is happening. You know, it could be jumping forward a little bit or jumping back, or it could have started the level a little bit behind with some delay and then it caught up, or vice versa, you know, because of all this frame dropping. Now, you know, maybe that didn't happen, but maybe it did, is the problem with this. Like when you're dropping frames and stuff and you're using, just in even if you don't drop frames, if you're using a Twitch VOD, like your live stream VOD as your speedrun submission, it could be weird. It could be not exactly down to the frame like it should be with a local recording. You know, I mean, there's just so many ways you can introduce discrepancies to your run that are sort of, in a way, sort of beyond your control. Like, you know, you have these Twitch encoding errors here, you know, because Saboom's internet is bad or whatever. But then also there's like capture card, like, you know, weirdness and whatever. So like, it's like, can we like please reduce the like amount of bullshit we are seeing here? Locally record all of your runs, you know? It's like, it's never going to be perfect, but I think it's like, I don't mean to get on a high horse here, but I do think it's kind of like our duty, if we're going to put this much time into a game as speedrunners, to like, you know, just locally record it. You know, is that so fucking crazy? So let this fucking horrible, like, you know, community, what should be a cool community best, now sort of ruined and made, like, questionable because of dropping frames. You know, he should have locally recorded it. So let it be a lesson to you if you speedrun out there. Like, don't put, like, someone like Flazuki or me in this position where we have to be, like, hypercritical of that, you know? It's just whack. How are you gonna put this, how are you gonna get the best ice cavern ever done and, like, not, like, just have a spare recording of it, you know? It's just laziness. Yeah, YouTube, because like this is the thing, is like we upload these videos to YouTube, we stream them on Twitch, but each of those services have the, look at how horrible this fucking, you can barely watch them anyway. Not to mention the de-interlacing, which isn't the interlacing rather. When you play on a composite capture card and you don't turn on de-interlacing, you see ghosting, which is really fucking annoying. Which that fucks with if you're trying to time things down to the frame. You'll see like a ghost of the previous frame, so you don't know which one to. Anyways, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so YouTube and Twitch and any like video hosting website, it encodes your video. Like you have your video there as an MP4, you upload it, and then it's like it re-encodes the video. It renders it, quote. It doesn't render it, but it encodes it. So it's like the video you see on YouTube isn't necessarily going to be the exact same video you have on your computer. You know what I'm saying? So it's never going to be perfect, but the least we could do is have the video like from the computer and reduce the amount that these websites are fucking over our careful timing here. Now, I just want to give a shout out because here's Spora777. This is the one community goal he has, and it is for this short balloonist skip. Or not balloonist skip, but balloonist split, pardon me. I wish balloonist. And he got some good enemies there. I'm kind of surprised, honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't mean to, no shade towards Spora. I'm surprised that was a community best. I mean, honestly, it's like, talk about invisible time save. Like, he had decent, with that split, the real time save and time loss is from the 3 guys. So I think a lot of it also was the dragon. It's hard to touch the dragon optimally, and getting an okay 3 guys and executing well on the 2 spring chests. A lot of, like, invisible opportunities to lose a few seconds. And so, good job to Spora for that. Good job to Spora. I've gotten better 3 guys before, so I have a feeling like in actual, you gotta remember, like this is curated by Flazuki. It's not necessarily like the you know, confirmed, you know, unarguable best splits ever done. It's just according to one person who watches a lot of runs. You know, you just gotta remember that. And again, the homeworlds are hardly factored into that situation, but not like they are here, where they're measured as individual segments. But yeah, shouts to Spora. I didn't mean to throw shade at Spora with that, just making a greater point there. Spora is a fucking legend at this game, and Spyro too. You guys should follow him if you don't. Spora and Adam the Dragon are the only 2 people capable of getting a 122 besides myself at the moment. You know, not considering people that don't play anymore, like, you know, Saboom or Chris. Chris sometimes pulls out a run every now and again. If Chris grinded for like a week or 2, he could get a 122. I believe it. Did he get it? Actually, am I wrong about that? Did Chris get... No, I'm not sure if he did. I think he has a low 123. My record did not set any golds, but it did do several homeworlds faster. So if you are measuring it like homeworld segments and IL segments, yes, I did get a few homeworlds that are faster than the community sum of best. But homeworlds plus ILs, like the way Flazuki is measuring it for his like playlist, no, I did not beat any of them. But I did come within, again, I've come within 5 seconds of most of them, which is kind of insane to think. No, he didn't get a 122. I always think he did, but I didn't. Adam's about to get a 122. Pretty insane. My first record in this game was a low 122. And that took me years and years to get, so for any player to be on the cusp of that is very impressive. Anyways, I'm gonna drink this beer, guys. Cheers. Look at the sync, by the way. Like, anytime it's a segment versus myself, you can really see the level of consistency between high-level attempts at a level. Like, it just shows, like how measured all of my inputs are. Like, right down to which direction I turn on the fucking, you know, on the stairs and stuff. Like, the sync is just crazy here. Whenever I'm going against one of my own bests. Like, it just gets off by a little bit, and that's what the point of this whole video is meant to be, is like to sync it up at the beginning of each level in Homeworld and show you like, hey dude, like this is pretty much like a culmination of all of the best like playthroughs of a level, like this world record, you know? Sure, there's time to be saved, like let's not forget that, but you know, this is pretty damn close to the best a human can expect on a run. So yeah, so in Peacekeepers and Artisans, there was a lot of Saboom and you know, and others, you know, community golds. But now that we're in Magic Crafters, we're in Dayo Crafters now. This is like, it's gonna be mostly me for most of these community bests, maybe with the exception of the flight level, because again, I take flight levels pretty safe. So hopefully we're gonna be seeing a lot of sinking here. Not like a sinking ship, but you know what I mean, like it's a SYNK. You know what I mean? This strategy right here in the homeworld, I wish more people went for it. It's so cool. It's like fucking supercharged strat. I always say, you guys gotta go for it. It's not that bad. It looks, it's really awkward when you first try it, but you practice it a little bit, it's not too bad. I pretty much never miss that. Alright, let's see high caves here. Again, another gold by myself here. I'm actually surprised Saboom doesn't have a faster gold. I think the reason why my gold is the fastest here is because I do the extended bike cave strat, which is an extended supercharge. Chris was doing that for a while. And I'm not sure if Saboom ever ended. I don't think Saboom ever did it. I think he was quite pussy with the ferry in this level. Naturally, I mean, you only, again, this is like definitely, it's a respectable low risk choice to make to not go for the extended supercharge, because you're basically saving about 5 seconds, roughly, maybe a little less than that, if you charge past the ferry and do everything right. Also, with that jump that I do there, I tend to save time on other people. Other people will like go into the middle of the ramp and then like fade back before doing that jump. You don't have to do all that shit. But then there's the argument that you like, if you can get more speed doing that, the thing I don't do, then you don't have to jump up the ramp when you're supercharged. But it's copium. It's like a bunch of copium huffers out there. Do my strat. You won't. But yeah, no, I mean, just by the strat, like, you can see that I'm already pointing out a lot of strat differences that I have between other players here. Like, Magic Crafters is... What is this? I think that's another Twitch VOD situation. I think it is. You know what? I was talking all this shit on Saboom. Did you see that? You seen these pauses here? I think that was because I took my record from a Twitch VOD. So you see how fucking detrimental that is. Or my community best segment, which was a record at the time, I think. Or something like that. Or maybe it was just like a good run. But still, like, you know, even for me, you know, with my nice setup and everything, like, you never know when it's just going to drop some frames, and at that point it's like, well, is it now ahead or behind, or is it actually an accurate measurement of the split anymore? You don't know. So, you know, the shit I was talking on Saboom earlier about that in Ice Cavern, you know, it applies to me too. I'm guilty of it too. You know, so that's why I say the reminder so strongly, like, always local record every run, even if it's not a PB or whatever, because you never know when someone like Flazuki's going to DM you and be like, hey, can you send me, or hey, I saw this, you know, you got the best ever, you know, fucking jerking off in the first level split, you know? It's like, you want to send them the local recordings of that. Which actually I don't usually with Flazuki. I probably could have sent Flazuki the raw recording of this, but, you know, it's a future, for future reference, you know? It's probably gone now, though. I stayed within 2 seconds of that long-ass fucking level, by the way, of the community best. Insane. Now here we have to get the triple kill. The thing about the homeworld that I do before this level is it leaves these 2 metal guys, which makes it really easy to get fucked up on this guy. Even if you hit all 3 of those guys, he can still lift the platform as you're going over it and kind of cuck you out of your supercharge. But yeah, with a lot of these homeworlds, you'll see I'm within, you know, there's short segments compared to the individual levels. I'm within like half a second on most of them. And for one, another thing I want to mention is that for things that are 0-0 splits, they're either frame perfect. If they're white, down there, that means they're frame perfect 0-0 splits. But if they're like a different color, or I like make a note of it, that means you have 3 frames of leeway to get like within a tenth of a second of a split. So what I mean by that is this game runs at roughly 30 frames a second. So that means that 3 frames is 0.1 second. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So there is like some leeway here because I am. Now look at the fucking proxy, so beautiful. Because I am within. You have a 3-frame window, and because I'm rounding down from the 10th place, it may not be as accurate actually as if you're like measuring to the 100th place or whatever. But that's just how I chose. I just chose to have that level of consistency for things where you round down from the 10th place. You know, when you look at submissions for this game on the leaderboards, they're rounded down to the nearest whole second. So, let me get this out of here. Someone please ban this guy. But yeah, so basically, I'm gonna turn off my chat here. Anyways, yeah, so I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, so you can basically have like 3 seconds of leeway, or pardon me, 3 frames of leeway in order to be within a tenth of a second, which I find interesting because it's like you don't have to be perfectly perfect to get a plus 0-0 split. Anyways, guys, cheers. Chuggers in the chat. Yeah, get that racist fool out of here, man. If you guys are watching on YouTube, it probably got blurred off right there. Some motherfucker was trying to be racist in my chat. It was fucking dumb. Thanks for making me edit this video more. Wow, so it's such a pain in the ass. Oh, whatever will I do? The video's ruined now. Fucking idiot. Alright, anyways. Yeah, so we're minus 50, by the way, at this point. Kind of insane to think. Like, yes, Nestor skip was like 16 seconds, but like, dude, another, what, 23, 24, or no, 30... That's so much time, you know, just saved in movement, y'all. Like, a lot of this is just raw movement. Some route differences between myself and Saboom and Peacekeepers, but like, you know, and speaking of which, now we're going to see Saboom again in the flight level. Actually ridiculous. I don't want to talk about that. Isn't world record 120.03? That is wrong. World record is, as you can see right there, is a 120.41. But yeah, I mean, just look at how much more safely I'm taking these levels here. You know what I mean? What's up, New Nine? Oh, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. I'm fighting off racism in my chat. Like a true American. What a world we live in. Welcome to the internet. You're proud of me? Yeah, you guys proud of me? Doing this mid commentary moderating? Cheers. Yeah, my last two, yeah, that's probably why. My last two records were 121.02 and 121.03 respectively. Now I have 120.41. The time between my 121.02 and my 120.41, the time I spent grinding was just under a year. Right? Was that correct? Yeah, it was like 11 months, 10 or 11 months, if I'm not mistaken. 10 or 11 months with no PB. Have any speedrunners here gone a long time without getting a PB drought? Let me know how that went for you, or how that changed your perspective on the game. I find that dude, the super fast cycle there, by the way, so sick. I find that having a PB drought really teaches you a lot about your it really changes your outlook on a game. And if you can keep playing through a PB drought, the next PB, like, you're like so much wiser after that. Because a PB drought is usually enough to make a lot of people quit. Honestly, a lot of people feel like they plateau. You have to fight the feeling of like, oh, I plateaued. oh, I'm not going to get any better. Oh, I should be doing something. Oh, this is a lot of insecurities you fight during a PB drought. But the reality is that it's just hard, you know. Like it's not necessarily that you have to be insecure. You suck, this and that. It's like just keep playing, and you will get another PB. You know, it's like it's that simple. I know it sounds like kind of patronizing, but my point is that you learn a lot. You grow a lot from a PB drought if you can come out on the other side. It was minus 0.1 for that blowhard. Yeah, that was a good blowhard. I got the super fast. The crazy thing is when I'm on really good runs, like at this point in world record, I'm like, holy shit, this is like a low 39. This is an insane run at this point, and I'm starting to get really serious about it. The thing about that is that like when you have those nerves on, you start to feel them in Magic Crafters when you're on a really good run. And so what ends up happening, look at this sloppiness. The good thing it doesn't lose too much time because you have to wait for that guy's charge cycle, but still losing like a second there. What was I gonna say? Those nerves end up really affecting the Magic Crafter's execution, I've noticed. Like, if you get like a good run with a good high caves and a good wizard peak, you are probably gonna fuck up the flight level or blowhard, which are supposed to be easier levels. And so it was pretty miraculous that I was able to have good examples of those levels and get the super fast cycle and blowhard. Like that was like the first moment of this run being like something special that no other human has like come close to yet. That's like the first example of that, I would say. Like everything up to this point has been like a human has been able up to blowhard is like humans have gotten runs like that, you know. But then it's like, you know, as this game progresses, it gets more and more like, you know, the luck factors and the enemy AI. It just becomes a lot more punishing for small things. Like for example, in this level, like if I bonk once, I lose 3.5 seconds due to the charge pad cycles coming up in the next area here. So it goes from like kind of forgiving and you can get a good pace going to like, okay, Magic Crafters is tough and the nerves are on, to now the game is completely unforgiving and you are going to lose a shit ton of time if you're not controlling those nerves and keeping the focus up. We are about 40 minutes into the run at this point, and so focus, this is where we're going to start to see a little bit of focus waning perhaps. Especially an hour plus in is where like active focus starts to wane against your will. So all those factors really contribute to why people don't get as good of endgames as I do. I don't mean to say it like in a not humble way or whatever, but like that's a huge part of it, is being able to maintain active focus, control your nerves. I know it sounds like basic shit, but like it's just you just have to speedrun a lot, you know, to really understand like how hard it is to do that. Yeah, to have a super fast blowhard on a run like this is like extra impressive, because that requires like extra composure, you know. And I really do think like a reason why I was able to get this run is because I really was focused on not interacting with my chat, not talking, just focusing on my breathing. I did a lot of breathing during this run. So yeah. Overall time lost in Magic Crafters 6.7 seconds compared to the community sum of best. Is that not fucking insane? The whole home world lost 6.7 seconds to the best ever examples of every individual level ever recorded. Again, here, within a second. Like, guys, is this not insane that it's like, it's sick. Let me back up. You're doing speed runs in a given day. Maybe you're not getting the best runs, but it's like, oh shit, but I had a really good blowhard though. Oh, I had a really good Misty Bog, you know, and that just getting one level in a run that's near a community sum of best, even not even beating it, but just near it, that's like an accomplishment, you know? That's a big fucking deal. That's like saying like, okay, I basically did this little chunk of the run as fast as a human could do it. Like that's fucking insane. That's not easy for like multi-minute long sections of a run. And so on this run, the fact that that is happening back to back to back to back while still maintaining composure, it's really it's almost inhuman, really. I mean, I don't mean to like say it like I'm not trying to say I'm cool or whatever, but it's like this is just to kind of put it in perspective how rare this is. This is a very rare run. I did a lot of breathing. No, I mean, honestly, like I was just sitting there. All I was doing was just... Because your heart is fucking racing on a run like this, dude. Your heart is racing. You're getting sweaty. You know, you have to wipe off your hands. Shit like that. Now notice that I collected an extra plane on the community best there. There's one reason why it's faster. Another reason is that I got the animation skip on the community summon best, which I missed there. To those of you who don't know, you can skip the animation there at the end by crashing into a solid object, like a wall. And so indeed, my animation here wasn't stopped by a wall, but rather the roof of that area, losing like a second or two. Yeah, I guess there is a flight level where I have a community goal. I thought I was trash at the flight levels, but here we go. The flight levels give you... Oh, and look at that. The zeros, the white 0-0, that Misty Bog, from Wild Flight to Misty Bog, that homeworld was perfectly to the frame of the community best, which I think is cool. You gotta appreciate a 0-0. To the frame, by the way. I did for 0-0s, not for other splits, but for 0-0s, I measured how many frames of off they were. Because like I said, a 0-0 could still be up to 3 frames off. So that one happened to be a frame perfect 0-0. There's a couple others in this round. Anyway. Hi, Booby. Sarah's done with work. Cheers. Love you.
I'm submitting, well, I've designed something someone's submitting to LD.
Okay. So, I don't even know how I lost the time I did here on the community best. The thing is there's a task that was made recently by someone that doesn't even like really play this game. It's just someone that just made a task of this level. And there's a couple of like little minor improvements in the first part of the level that I think are, ooh, look at that. So look at the enemy difference there in that section right there. Now this is where I'm talking about the enemy AI really having implications on your time save. Like, holy shit, those enemies were amazing on the community gold there. Now I'm like a good 2 seconds ahead just for that. So even if there were little movement discrepancies, there are still elements of like the game, like kind of handing you a good plate, you know, serving you a good plate of enemy AI, which is not completely random. Some of you guys might wonder, like, well, is the enemy AI RNG? It's like, no, it's not technically RNG, but you know, it's influenced by your camera. But for how many different possible camera approaches you could have to an enemy, it is effectively random. It's practically random, but it is manipulatable, is how I would say. It is not literally random. It is replicatable, you know, in a task to make the enemies do the same thing every time. But just for a lot of situations, like especially that lower level where, you know, the enemies down there in the lower area, it's just really hard to manipulate them correctly. Missed a gem there on world record, by the way. I remember telling people to say green fuck in the chat. So there's another second lost. Community best doesn't do a double. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm going to take advantage of this moment since you point that out. I'm not going to catch every little difference. So if you're watching this and you're like, Dayo, like, you're busy talking about some irrelevant shit, why don't you pay attention to every difference? Look at this fucking Guanton, by the way. Yeah, both of them went counterclockwise. I actually timed it. It is faster to do a clockwise, or pardon me. Both of these went clockwise. It's faster to do a counterclockwise Guantanamo, or aka that island area there. It is faster. Even if you take a hit, it is still faster, believe it or not, to do it counterclockwise. Doing it counterclockwise, taking one hit and having efficient recovery is faster than doing clockwise with no hits. Isn't that crazy? You wouldn't think, but time it yourself. See if I'm right. It was the case when I timed it. What was I talking about? I was talking about some other shit. Oh yeah, so like to anyone in the comments, this is a thing that I see on my task videos sometimes. It's not a common thing, but like, again, if you want me to comment on every little fucking thing, what that would require is for me to pause and rewatch sections. So, but for you, the bitch in the comments, you know, to your ass, I actually made an entire playlist of videos like that. They're called the community, or they're called the, pardon me, they're called the 120% tutorial breakdown playlist. So again, if you're thinking he's not talking about every little thing, I have videos on my channel, okay, 20 minutes for each level where I pause, go in slow motion, explain why each thing is crazy. Okay, so if you want to see that, please go check that out. That is a playlist on my channel that you can watch, all right? But I don't want to see any bitches in the comments saying he didn't notice every little fucking thing. Fuck you, all right? To that one guy who always comments that on my tasks. That guy fucking makes me mad. Anyways. Is it because I don't return for the Nork? Yeah, that's exactly why it's faster, Dr. Hades, is because, in talking about Guantanamo again, is because, with the clockwise strat, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the room and then back to the dragon, even if you do it perfectly. Whereas counterclockwise is, it's just better routing. It's better routing, but it's just riskier. Yeah, I recorded those breakdown videos like way back in the... Ooh, I had a little unfortunate push from the boxes there. The box collision in this game can like push you in a direction. It's not just the boxes, it's like any enemy you run into, they have the potential to push you in certain ways, depending on how you hit them. So that can actually have implications of time loss, like what you saw down there. Jackta, thank you for the Prime. Cheers. Not to mention, a lot of enemies in this game, their collision is still active after you kill them. So they'll be like in a death animation or whatever, like falling back. So a lot of times in those situations, they can body block you. Like that guy, I had to come from the right and then squiggle. You do like a little zigzaggy flame charge, so that way the flame doesn't get body blocked by the first guy. So that's a lot of the thought behind the enemy cleanup in this game is to avoid things like body blocks and hopefully to avoid getting pushed as well. Okay, and we are over the 1 minute mark, by the way. Minus 1.9. How much time was gained in Misty Bog? Did anyone pick up on that? It looks like we've been staying less than 5 seconds of time save in any given spot. What I will do, though, on a side screen is, instead of ask you guys, I'm going to bring up the spreadsheet, which shows, actually... I'll move it over here. I'll bring up a spreadsheet that shows... Oh, check out the out of bounds here. Let's see if I get it. Got it on, but you have to get the out of bounds here if you want the community gold. Now, unfortunately, I missed the second box, but that's another example of the box pushing me and just having it at a suboptimal angle, blind, going through that corner is just like, what are you going to do, you know? But all in all, only losing like a second, maybe like a second and a half there. Let me bring up the spreadsheet that breaks down all the time loss, which, by the way, if you want to see, it is linked down below in the description / pinned comment. I made a whole spreadsheet that all of the numbers you see in between splits, I have that in a spreadsheet, basically. 3.0 in Misty, not bad, not bad. Oh, let me see what it said there. In Misty Bog, it is... Oh, here, I won't cover it up again with it. In Misty Bog, it was blah blah blah. Exit Misty Bog, yeah, -3, correct. Yeah, for all of Beastmakers, the only level where I lost like more than 3 seconds was the entrance to Terrace Village, which had like the weird gem cleanup. That was the worst mistake in my entire Beastmakers, was at the very start there. That's crazy. Because that hardly even lost that much time. Yeah, the community best goes through the vortex, which is interesting there, yeah, in treetops, which actually creates a bit of a conundrum for me with timing. Because how do I, you know, normally I would cut off the video right when he hits the exit level button, but since he's going through the vortex, I have to do it when Sparks disappears, when he goes through the vortex. So it's not the most accurate sync / comparison, considering. You know, if one segment is exiting level through the pause menu, another one's doing it through the vortex, it's just hard to measure. It's hard to measure which, like, how much faster one is than another. Just in terms of like the syncing and all that. Load initiation, and that's the sort of like thought process I had at Luminescent for the whole run, basically. Was like anytime I see not necessarily like the screen, but when I see Spyro move, or like for the like for right there, like when you right there, for example, with the metal head coming out of it, you see the portal. Like when you're flying out of it, like the first frame that you see the actual camera move or something like in-game like happen. For fly-ins, it's the same way. You'll see the actual skybox shift a little bit for the first frame that the actual game engine is active after the actual level transition. So that's where I time from. That's where every IL times from. And so on level exits, I have it synced up like that as well. Usually it's the first frame you see the actual collision of the portal, or text of the portal, or sparks on level exits. So you gotta really kind of measure like when the actual game engine is active, not a load. Like right here, you'll see that I have to time it. With that one, it's really weird because normally, with coming out of a balloonist with that sync right there, normally what I'd do is I would see the first frame that Spyro's shadow is active because he comes down out of the balloon with no shadow, and then when the game engine's active, you see Spyro's shadow underneath him through the basket, right? Or like underneath the basket, right? And so for that particular one, since it's over a void, I had to do it by I had to sync it by like the first frame his head moved there. So there is some inconsistent syncing, but for the most part, I think it's within a frame. You know, if any of my syncs are inconsistent this run, I think it's fair to say it's within a frame. So it's impossible to perfectly sync every little thing, especially when you consider things like pause exiting versus vortex exits and whatnot, and so on. But I think I did the best I could in this given run, you know, within the margin of error of about a frame. Or of about, pardon me, not a frame, of about, at the most 2 or 3 frames, but within 1/10 of a second is another way to say it. But generally, I think most of the syncs are within a frame. Just to those who are curious about how exactly accurate my syncs are. I did go, that's why this video took me 2 weeks, is I did go through the trouble to make sure they were as accurately synced as possible. And, you know, the reason why I leave the screen black, by the way, when a community best is done with a level or whatever, is because I want when the game comes back, that frame that you see it come back, that's the frame I sync on. So you can use that to, like, measure it yourself, if you really want. I know Luminous and Sky would. Anyways. Not that anyone's going to go through that trouble. If anyone did go through the trouble of amending this run anymore, I think removing dragon loads is one thing you could do. If to anyone who's like a nerd that wants to keep like exploring the idea of loadless or whatever, I basically took out the level and balloonist loads, level transitions and balloonists. All that's left to take out is the actual dragons themselves, which is a challenge in its own right. But that is the technical, true definition of loadless Spyro 1. And before anyone asks, no, that is not the convention for timing in this game. There is no loadless timer except for emulator. There is a loadless timer for emulator, so it is a fun thing. I know people like Luminescent will run with a loadless timer, but they also have to show the real time as well, because that's what we actually go by in this game. It's just not easy to implement loadless timers for games that aren't PC games, basically. It's possible. It's just not easy. It's not like practical, you know, to ask everyone to use a loadless timer. You know, it's that type of thing. Gizaro, thank you for the sub. A few seconds behind the community sum of best here. I wasn't paying super close attention this level. Guy in the comments is losing his mind. God, Dayo's not paying attention. But in general, I gotta say this, when I'm playing good in Haunted, like, this is one of my specialty levels, I would say. Like, a lot of people just don't have really good Haunteds. I'm sorry, but this is to be fair, this is a really difficult level to string together. It's probably the hardest level to hit every flame charge in, I would say. The big metal guys are just, they're so difficult to flame charge efficiently, so... That's sort of become... Now, notice there's a life difference here. Now, I want to talk about something. This is important. Is what you're seeing here for the community best is not actually from the current community's Sum of Best playlist. It's from an alternate community Sum of Best playlist. Nice frame perfect entry there. The homeworlds only. Now, the ILs, this part is from the community Sum of Best playlist and is accurate as of the time of posting this video. The reason I did it this way is because there's 2 different homeworld routes in Dreamweavers. If you exit Haunted Towers and go for a wall glide, then you can get to an island early and basically clean up the homeworld and do the levels in a different order. So that's what the community Sum of Best does, because that route is about 4 to 5 seconds faster, which we will actually measure at the end how much faster that is by comparing the time I calculate here to the loadless, or to the time with loads of the community sum of best at the end. But we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there. But I just want to make a quick disclaimer that the actual homeworld segments in Dreamweavers only are not the actual true community sum of best homeworld segments. They're just good examples of each homeworld. They're an alternate sum of best of this route that I've chosen, so that way it syncs up better with this run. The goal with this run was to sync things up, you know, and to like let you see like the comparison. But yeah, that is the one example of something that is not actually part of the true community sum of best, is the Dreamweavers homeworld segments. Only the homeworlds, not the individual levels. Again, this is the actual gold, current gold at this level. Yeah, I mean, like, New 9, it's a great thing to point out, is that it's just the actual world record and the community sum of best. We're not looking at a lot of mistakes. Like, it's hard to find mistakes. It's just, you're just seeing better movement. And this is such a great visualization of what I call invisible time save in this game, is that it's like, how the fuck did this community best get like 3 seconds ahead of me here? Like, it literally looks the exact, especially when it's one of my community sum of best, it looks the exact fucking same execution-wise. Like, if you were to watch one video and then the next, you'd be like, same video, you know? But because we're watching them side by side, we're getting an idea of that invisible time save that just comes from slightly more optimal movement execution, which comes from having more focus and active, you know, energy and practice in a game. It's truly an example of invisible time save, where this is where the majority of time save comes from in this category at a high level. It's not from doing crazy routes, it's not from doing like some trick or from Nestor skip, it's from just playing clean. Like, right there is the first mistake you've seen, basically, from this level. So we are going to be losing some pretty sizable time on this split. This will be one of the first splits in a while that we're losing more than 5 seconds. Which is just, again, which is just crazy to think. That, like, in how many levels? I'm looking at, Exit Dark Passage. We have basically gone an entire homeworld without losing, no, even Magic Crafters as well. 2 homeworlds without being more than 3 to 5 seconds off of community sum of best, and oftentimes less than that. We've gone 2 straight homeworlds. This is the first level in 2 homeworlds that has lost more than 5 seconds to the community sum of best. Like, I hope you guys like appreciate how insane that is. Like, that is so insane. Why do I got a dookie on Nestor skip? No, I ain't got nothing against Nestor skip. I have just chosen not to do it for this run. No, the truth is if I want to get another record in this game, I'm going to have to do Nestor skip. Like, I'm just being honest. I mean, maybe I don't have to, but I should, you know? Because at this point, that's like one of the only time saves I have left. And get another god run like this, basically. Like, just a lot to ask. Minus 120. Chuggers in the chat. -2 on that home. That is one of the longest homeworlds in the game. And again, that wasn't an actual true sum of best, community sum of best homeworld, but you know, still losing 2 seconds to it. So it is like accurately a really good one. You know? Dreamweaver's wall glide saves more time than credit skip game over. Well, you know, it saves about, I think it's fair to say that, like, you know, we can't measure that down to the second because it's such a long it's a long group of segments, the Dreamweaver's wall glide. So we have to give ourselves a buffer of like a second or two with the Dreamweaver's wall glide. So I think it's fair to say that the Dreamweaver's wall glide is like 4 to maybe 6 seconds faster if executed optimally. Now, credit skip game over saves, if I'm not mistaken, saves about 5 seconds, which is about the same amount of time as the Dreamweaver's wall glide. So you could do the Dreamweaver's wall glide and not have the optimal life count for credit skip, and that evens out. Or you can have the correct life count for the Dreamweaver's wall glide, get it, and then save time on credit skip. I mean, my point with that is that I think that was a little bit misleading of you to say, Luminescent, that the Dreamweaver's wall glide objectively saves more time than credit skip game over would. I think it's a more fair statement is that they cancel each other out. That's my opinion. I know you're speaking in like a theoretical, like TAS sense, like I know, but even despite that, I think what I'm saying is fair. Well, not TAS, but like theoretical sense. But yeah, we're gonna measure, you know, you're talking a lot about the Dreamweaver's Wall Glide right now. We're gonna measure like how much time is saved from loads as well as the Dreamweaver's Wall Glide difference at the end. And we're gonna see if it really is, you know, 5 or 6 seconds. We'll see what it is. The answer might surprise you, Luminescent, it might. I mean, you've probably already seen this video, to be honest, so you probably already know the answer, but I'm just saying. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of spitballing about like what's faster and what's not. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to like time shit and like fucking have it be like accurate. You know, when we're talking about large swoots of multiple homeworld segments strung together versus one other like time loss, it's a little easier to measure. Oh, that's unfortunate. I missed that little box there. But I'm still well ahead of the community gold here, by the way. Very, very interesting to note. Oh, the reason, actually, I know why that is because I'm going for an easier route here. I'm going to lose a lot of time on this lofty because I skipped a lot of cleanup on the first major island after the first one. I guess the second island of the game, of this level, I skip. And so as a result of that, I'm doing a shorter supercharge here. Now, this is just a like a risk assessment thing because if I were to go for what you see on the community best here, now on the supercharge, take a look at how much longer this is. And the thing that makes this inconsistent is this bump right here. Getting that consistent is just basically, it's like a coin toss, basically. It's like a 50-50. So it's just like I've lost world record paces to that, and when I know I'm far enough ahead, I know I don't need to go for it. Sometimes if I'm like just barely keeping up with world record, I'll go for it. But you know what I'm saying? That's one of those like risk assessment type route changes. And so I opted to go. I played it safe here, quote unquote, and went for the alternate route, which is going to lose as much time as we're going to see. It did have some flubs, by the way, so we'll take that into account. My world record execution here. Oh yeah, it is a noticeable time save. Let's take a look. It'll be at the end of this level. I'll just tell you, it's anywhere from like 5 to 15 seconds of time save or loss, depending on execution factors. Which, yes, there is that much like variance there. There's 15 seconds right there. So theoretically, you can save up to 15 seconds. But remember, I had a couple of flubs here. So, you know, if we take those out, is it more like 10? Or what if I played even faster with this route, which I could have? Is that more like 7? You know, it's not easy to gauge. Even with a synced up thing like this, it's a little hard to gauge with a long like swath of gameplay. That's kind of what I was talking to about Luminescent earlier. It's like Luminescent said so confidently that it's like, oh, well, it's exactly this much, you know, but you really can't pin it down like within a second margin of error, you know? Just one person like in their timing is going to be able to execute the level in a different way than someone else, you know? I know that sounds like some hippy dippy shit. Yeah, theoretically speaking, it should not have that margin of error, but just looking at the way it is with timing this game, you know, it's like there is, for a large like section, multi-minute section of gameplay, to compare two different routes, it's never going to be down to the, you can never have accuracy down to the second. I'm sorry, like like it's just how it is. In terms of route difference. Now we can measure accuracy, you know, as close as we want, just comparing videos side by side. But they don't. These comparisons don't tell the whole story. Is my point. But they're intriguing. They get you thinking. You know, that's what's cool about these comparisons is they may not tell the whole story, but they open the book. You know, they make you look at like, damn, 15 seconds in lofty. That wasn't that bad of a lofty. Well, maybe that route loses 5-10, and maybe you lost another 5 in movement. You know, and so you're starting to like turn the pages. You start to like write the book a little bit from opening it up when you start thinking about shit like this. That's why it's fun to get in arguments with Luminescent about this shit, is because we're both like reading this fucking book, you know, here of what is the possible time save and time loss in each section, and it's just like I said, it's never going to be like a 100% accurate thing. Yeah, the nerdiest book ever. A little behind here on the community. Community Best, I believe, is doing the. Oh, it does not do the Wally route. I'm sure there is a version of this level that has been done that is probably faster than the Community Best. But Saboom, for doing this basically the same route as I do here, it's really impressive how much further ahead he is. He's a good 6 or so seconds ahead of me, 6 or 7. And so, but there is another alternate route here that saves, 1 or 2 seconds. That requires a really annoying flop. So argument for doing the dragon before Jock? Yeah, you can do it. It's the same. It's arguably better. It's just whatever you prefer. Saboom isn't losing time there. I'm not saving time there. It's effectively the same. So the truth is you should probably grab the dragon before the fight, just for safety in case you fall off and land in the lava. Just that alone is more valuable than the amount of time or save lost from grabbing it after. But I grab it after anyways, just because that's what I've always done. Stockholm Syndrome. Now here is a really good example of a 0-0 that was a full 3 frames behind. Okay? So, like, remember, 30 frames a second, that means that 0.1 second can have a margin of error of 3 frames. So this was that little homeworld from Jock to the Balloonist was an example of the Community Best being 3 frames, a full 3 frames faster than me, but not quite hitting the full 1 second of time difference when you do the math. Yeah, it's a matter of frames. So don't let the time like confuse you here. A video game is measured in frames, you know? Like if we really try to be as accurate as possible, you'd have to like frame count everything. But we measure things in time, not in frames. So there's a conversion that happens there. That's I just wanted to make that point, that there's like a conversion between frames and time, and there is some rounding that happens as a result of that. In addition to whatever, decimal point you round your time to. So there are rounding errors, that occur in a comparison like this. Just getting back to the point of, it's never going to be quite that, like, I'll try to sync things up to the frame, but even so, like, the timing difference of segments, it's never going to be, like, that fucking 100% accurate, you know? Nice. TN Teamwork is the name of that trick, where you blow up the freaking thing. I'm actually ahead of the community gold here, which is kind of crazy. I didn't even know this. I wonder where I lose my time back again. This is a riveting watch. Anytime I'm going against one of my own golds, it's extra riveting because it's like very similar. It's almost exactly sync. Like, how did I save the time back? How did I save it back in the community best? How? Like, what? Did you see that? Just in that one little red room right there, the community best got it back. How? It's invisible. If you go back and watch it, like, maybe really slowly, maybe you'll see it. You can point it out, but it's like time save and time loss, it comes and goes like that in this game, and you don't even see it. That's like kind of the whole point of this video, is that it's like, how the fuck did community best just get ahead of me here? I'm literally playing like perfect, you know? Like, what? It's fucking crazy, and I'm going against myself. It's not like I'm going against a different player. I'm going against my own previous execution. So that's like the most, I think that's like the most interesting part of this whole comparison here, is illuminating the invisible time loss. It's invisible. Not even a seasoned fucking dude like me can see it. I can't even beat myself off, as they say. Yeah, I got up like just in the it was in the last like third of the level. I can save like 4 seconds. I did kind of have a flub at the end there, I'm pretty sure, but like it would have been like -2 either way. Like so crazy. Yeah, the whirlwind fucked me up. Yeah, I remember that in my record. I remember laughing at that. Like what the fuck. Let's see Twilight. But still, dude, even with a mistake, within 5 seconds of community sum of best, that's still so good. That's still so insane. I mean, think about how many splits are in this game? Like 30, 32 splits? If you multiply 30 times 5, that's 150 seconds. The community sum of best is an 18 something, 1829 with loads. You know, that's a sub 120. You know, to literally play within 5 seconds of every single split. Now, unfortunately, that's not exactly what happened on this run, but pretty damn close, you know? I think that topic kind of brings to light, like, how valuable the actual pace is. Like, it's not that any one level is done literally perfect. It's just that every level was done as good as you could hope for it to be. And pushing the movement. With the exception of a couple of routes and Nestor skip. But yeah, it's like, you know, with this pace, with like the whole idea of like keeping the pace up and having these invisible time saves and playing close to the community sum of best, it's like you can really start to see how, like, you know, maybe it starts as 5 second save here, then it turns into 10, then 20, then before you know it's like, yeah, save another 42 seconds. Like, it's like, if I'm playing this well, why didn't I get the sub 120? You know, like, that's like how crazy the rabbit hole gets. When I talk about, like, it's all about the pace. It's not about doing a couple of levels really well. It's about doing every level solidly. That's what a full game speedrun is. Like, that's what this is all about. Beautiful, beautiful metal chest there by me. The community best here does, I'm pretty sure the community best here does get the gold. Like, it has a quicker supercharge section than I think my world record did. I'd have to double check that. Most of the time lost here was, I think, in cleaning up extra gems during the supercharge. So, pretty good. Like, if literally the only things you're losing time to are just like one little mistake and no invisible time save, or maybe there's no mistakes and there's a little bit of invisible time save, that's what you want. That's what you want. You'll never be perfect. Like, I'll never be perfect at this game. You know, I'll never, you know, surpass the community sum of best. But the best I could hope for is to get this fucking close. It did one lap. Yeah, that sounds right. One turnaround on the strong chest. The community sum of best did versus my 2. Which, by the way, it makes perfect sense why I did that in my world record, because you have to kind of go with a gut feeling that you got all the gems if you do a 1 lap. Like, the community best in Twilight Harbor, that was on a not world record pace run, you know? And I was willing to YOLO it. But I was not willing to YOLO it on world record. Not at all. You know, that was a very calculated time loss there. Yeah, you can't tell. You literally can't tell visually. There's so many gems there and you go past them so quick. You can't tell visually. And the fucked up part is when the death abuse happens at the end of the supercharge, at the end of that section, is you can't see the gems. You can only see the gems glisten. You cannot see their solid thing in the distance where those gems would be during the turnaround. So since you can only see the gems glisten, that means you have to take extra time death abusing, which negates the, you know, the value of doing a 1 lap, you know? Like, arguably, like, yes, like, you know, maybe you're still saving like a less than a second, but it's like you're introducing so much risk for like a 2 second, 2-3 second time save, you know? Whereas doing an extra turnaround is still faster than any other route, so, you know? And I timed it. Really nice, I really did that level well. Now, I think I had one... I didn't get, like, a perfect credit skip there. I'm pretty sure I took 1 accidental hit of damage. But even so, even if I did have a perfect 2-shot, it still would have lost time to the community sum best. Another example of just really good movement. You know, invisible time save, I would say. Here we are at the end. Now we're almost at the 2-minute mark, guys. Are we going to get 2 minutes behind the community sum of best by the end? Oh, and of course, the final best is by Saboom on camera point at the CRT TV. Shout out to anyone who remembers those streams. These are funny. It's a very, very poetic way of ending it. No, honestly, I was talking shit about, like, you know, about like you gotta have a local recording, this and that. But what I won't talk shit about is pointing a camera at a TV. Like, yes, it does look like less, you know, less good, obviously, but like, as long as the camera isn't stuttering or there isn't dropped frames, I would rather have that than like the dropped frames we saw in the Ice Caverns Summer Best. I would take this any day. Because at least it's like more accurate, you know? Alright, now take a look at what Community Summon Best does here. I miss it, but Saboom hits the fucking plane there, saving roughly 6 to 10 seconds. So most of the time save here is from that. Look, I'm still having to get that guy right now and go around the long way here. That is such a hard thing to hit, by the way. It is like, it is a near pixel perfect like flame you have to do. It's nuts. Yeah, that's why this is a community best over. Diddles in the chat. No, you don't have to bonk. Some people bonk. Me and John, as well as other people, do like a setup with a bonk, but you don't have to. You did like the fastest possible version of it. I missed that that thing right there, which was costing me a yellow right there, which I have that yellow right there that I just collected. I've missed on world record pace before. I mean, how can you blame me? When you like barely miss the firework. Everyone misses those fireworks, you know? You're nervous, dude. I'm breathing like fucking, sounding like Darth Vader at this point. Saboom's out of there. Minus 9 point. Yeah, I saved about 10 seconds just with that shit. And here's me checking another thing where I'm sacrificing like half a second to check the gem count. You know, it's totally something you don't have to do, but... Spyro the Dragon. You know, if you think about it, I would have had a 1:20:41 either way. I mean, I wouldn't have known that at the time. But, you know, good thing I checked. You know, you could just tell where my head was at there. Anyway, so let's talk about these things here in the end here. So the final time with loads, keep in mind, this whole comparison was done without level loads and without balloonist loads. So it was like, it was a loadless thing. The thing that you see in pink is what we were keeping track of down there. But let's look at the top thing in white. My world record got a 1:20:41 and the community sum of best got a 1:18:29, which is fucking nuts, a 1:18:29. That means that the difference between them with loads, the yellow text, is 2 minutes and 12 seconds. And the thing that I calculated with this whole synced up thing, taking out level loads and doing the alternate Dreamweaver's homeworlds, is 2:08. That means that there's about 4 seconds of time difference in both loads and the Dreamweaver's homeworld route. So, in a best case scenario, if we say that if we take out loads, maybe I'm saving some frames, we'll call it like half a second, you know, possibly saved there by me timing it differently. Like, I'm just gonna look at that real quick one more time. Oh, what the fuck am I looking at? Well, whatever, it's a difference of 4 seconds. So let's just say that it's like, even with the loads, like the Dreamweaver's homeworld difference, it's arguably not even it's like maybe 4 seconds. And we're convinced, just to get back to the concept of like timing and stuff, it's like we're saying in our minds that it's like, oh, okay, well, it's like 5-6+ seconds, but it just illuminates how hard it is to measure time save over multiple homeworld segments in a given run, or to measure load differences and timings and stuff across platforms. It's just not something that's ever going to be accurate down to the second. And that's the point of those like little comparisons with the time there. But yeah, guys, this was my world record versus community sum of best comparison. Thank you to everyone who subbed to see it. And yeah, I got the Zera music playing in the background. Hey, let me know in the comments if you want to see me play Zera, do speedruns of that. I am learning 117% right now, so I'm going to make a little update video after I finish the first homeworld, which I should be done with it by the end of tomorrow. So expect a little update from me then to see how things are going. And thank you guys so much for watching if you made it to the end. Fucking G's in the comments. I forgot what letter I told you guys to type, but just type a G if you made it this far in. I love you guys. Chuggers in the chat. I finished my beer in honor of all of you. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Dayoman.